Hello, everyone. I'm Marty George, and along with my buddy, what's your name again? George Purdue. We're your hosts of the local sports wrap-up here in Wyandotte Cable, Channel 15. Today is the first day of June. Man, summer's 2-3 weeks away.
It's coming fast.
It's warm enough right now to do whatever you want in the summertime. A lot of boats out over the weekend. Yeah. George, how was your week? How was your weekend?
Good. I mean, it was kind of nice to just kind of relax with family. We got together for a barbecue on Sunday, and it was kind of nice to have everybody over as things are kind of, I'm not going to say fully getting back to normal, but definitely seems more normal than what it was at this time last year with everything going on.
I'll agree with that. Things are a little more normal. Seems like every holiday weekend, all I ever do is yard work. What is that? I got to hire that job out because we plowed the garden, we planted the plants, broccoli, cauliflower, green peppers, all that good stuff. Yeah. And then, then the next day we're working around the yard a little more, and then I wake up like this morning and I could barely move.
Yeah.
You know?
It's worth it when that stuff comes in. We'll have to bring our garden pictures in. We'll do some comparison of kind of how our gardens are going this summer too, which I got mine I think 2 weeks in now, so it's always fun. Go out there. The girls like watering and helping me, but I just don't want them to start picking stuff off there before it's ready. So
I got a pack of seeds from Steck when I voted.
Yeah.
And not from her, but they were broccoli. So we put them in paper cups and we got them started. We're going to see if they make it.
Yep.
Anyway, not a big week on sports, but we have districts and regionals coming up and going down. And what do you got?
Yeah, so it seems like, obviously last weekend or this past weekend, not much going on. There was no tournaments. There really wasn't anything past Thursday. A lot of teams are starting to wind down their seasons with state finals coming up in like tennis and track this coming weekend. Baseball had a pre-district game today, and we can happy to report that the Bears won convincingly against Rouge, 15-0. Wow. I believe that they're playing that at Lincoln Park. I believe it's Lincoln Park, Allen Park, Rouge, Southgate for baseball. I haven't heard a softball score yet, but I had a few kids in class that left early for that too. So it's a good, starting point for them. They only play 3 innings. I mean, it's a 15 after 3 situation mercy rule. So they play again on Thursday. They play Riverview now. So as we start getting, and that's the one season with baseball and softball that goes like well after school gets out. I mean, the kids are done next Thursday, and baseball and softball finals, I think, go until almost the end of June with everything. So it's one of the only sports that kind of carries on a little bit farther than normal for spring season.
Yeah, that's why Little League always started a little later in the older groups.
Right.
Because of that. Speaking of soccer, I mean, the Roosevelt girls got by Lincoln Park in their district opener. The Bears scored a goal in the first half and added a second one to ultimately come away with a 2-0 win.
Yeah, my understanding was they went to Lincoln Park the week before that, got a win, and then played them again in the district game. And that's it's good for them. I know they've kind of had an up and down season, and like everybody else has been affected by some of kids being there or kids being in quarantine or getting COVID. So they work hard. When you look at it, we're one of the younger programs for soccer. I think it's only been year 3 or 4 for having soccer in the district. So. But nice job there getting past their game, and hopefully, by next week we can have an update on kind of how they're doing past this.
Yeah, I don't think they're playing today or tomorrow. I'm not sure. Today is a Tuesday. We had to move up filming because commencement. You got to wear your gown tomorrow? Handing out diplomas?
So it's all depending on kind of how things are going. Right now it's scheduled to be for the very first time, and I'm almost teaching 20 years now on the football field. It was a football field there last year, and I actually read names off last year, but it was a quick thing. It was in, out, groups going in for like 3 hours. The plan was to have everybody there on the field, 6 people per person. But right now it's a 30% chance of rain. They're making the call at 9 a.m. on Wednesday. Now if they have it at the Yak, it goes back to that same format. Groups of 30, bringing in their family, pictures, diploma, out, next group coming in. So it's kind of like just like this revolving door system. I got a feeling we'll see. I mean, if there's any chance of rain, you really can't take a chance on it because, what if you're out there, it starts pouring, you got camera equipment, you got people, so we'll see. Maybe things change and it still happens, but it doesn't look good to have it outdoors for Wednesday.
Yeah, I thought Thursday, earlier in the week, Thursday was the only chance of rain. Now it's changed a little bit. Always does. I mean, they don't know. Got a couple of pre-district scores, too. Carlson beat Trenton 1-0. A Julia Ross goal early in the 17th minute proved to be the difference. Ross ripped a shot from 30 to 35 yards out. It was so windy when they played last Friday that the team going with the wind had an advantage, and that was how she scored from 30-some feet out. That loss for Trenton snapped a consecutive district title streak at 9.
I mean, it's kind of crazy that, I mean, those are two good schools to meet in those games early on. For Carlson to knock Trenton, and we just talked about Trenton soccer last week, winning the league title. So, for them to be able to, they lose that first game in districts to Carlson, but that's what it is now. It's, you've seen that too. You see that in hockey. You see it in some of these other sports where it's one and done situation. It's not best of 3, not best of 5, and takes one game, one match, and then that could be your season. So,
secondly, we got Huron defeating Riverview 4-0. Joanna Metzner and Cicely Hughes each had a goal and an assist for Huron. Hughes scored off a corner kick try early, I think 5 minutes in, and then the scoring for the Chiefs began. Ashley Christensen set up Courtney Blas in front of the net 5 minutes in. Then the girl Metzner scored at the 23rd minute. So they handled Riverview, and I think both of them teams are going to play Friday, I think. I had read that somewhere in there.
Okay.
Soccer.
Yeah.
I don't know when Wyandotte plays next either.
Yeah, and I think, if they played, they would have probably played today. I doubt they're playing tomorrow because of graduation. They try make because you got kids that are obviously like Mia Morford's a senior, so I doubt that, if they had the game tomorrow that, she would be able to play. So I would imagine if they didn't play today, they probably would have played Thursday. I didn't hear of any kids leaving early. I knew baseball and softball were for sure today. Soccer's probably going to be on Thursday. We should probably have an update for that next week.
Do all the schools, they don't hold commencement the same day?
No, and it varies. Some schools are doing it, and this is the first year. Last year was the first year Roosevelt had theirs early. Kids have been done. I mean, those seniors have been done. Usually, commencement was the Thursday before, like the last day of school. It always kind of has been. Last year they moved it up. Well, nobody realized it so much because of the pandemic, what was going on. But this is the first year that, the earliest I can remember. And I think next year, because we're going to start, actually, it was decided on, we're starting school before Labor Day. So that was decided for the school that graduation is like June 1st next year. So it's going to be even earlier next year. So, and kids are done like May 17th. They've been done since May 20th. The seniors have been done. They have not been in school since May 20th. So...
Speaking of seniors, we have some letters of intent. We got about a dozen kids here that have committed to certain schools. We'll start out in Woodhaven. Giovanni Cavelli, she signed on to play soccer at Western Michigan University. She must be pretty good. I don't follow that sport, but...
Yeah, and Western's a good school. I mean, anytime you're going to a Division I school for anything, you have to be pretty good with that. So that's great for her. Southgate Anderson's Brianna Eunice signs on to join the cheer team at Central Michigan University, another Big Ten school. And Southgate's always had a really good cheer program as well, so that's no surprise there.
We got Riverview's Gabriel Richard's Katie Schultz. She signed on to play volleyball at Concordia University, right outside of U of M.
And Southgate Anderson's Natalie Beltran signs on to play soccer at the University of Michigan Dearborn.
Great facility. That area with the ice rink and the gym back-to-back in the same building, that's a great facility. Woodhaven's Isabel Jucha signs on to play basketball at Adrian College.
Allen Park's Monica Karagosian signs with Alma College, cheer and stunt team.
Yeah, stunt team. That would be, what's the stunt team?
I would imagine stunt team has to be very similar to like, cheer or something competitive-wise. I mean, I'm not positive on that. It's probably not something that I've heard used ever around high school, but there's obviously things in college that happen that don't happen in high school. So it's probably a form of competitive type cheer.
Because I was looking at that when I printed this out, and I should have Googled it because I didn't know what it was. Wyandotte Roosevelt's Chantay, how do you say that again? Chantanay Atwater signed to play volleyball at Siena Heights University. I noticed she's a tall girl.
Yeah, and she's done a lot of different things. I mean, she ran track, did very well with that. She was hurt for part of the year, so not the full scope of her track season. And you get that too. And I've always, as a coach, and I'm sure you've seen this too. You have kids that are like good in multiple sports that could go different places. I remember a few years back I had a girl that was great throwing shot and disc, could have probably done it in college, ended up playing volleyball, had a very successful college, career in playing volleyball. So kids sometimes have to make choices. We don't realize that it could be multiple sports kids are good in. And Chantenay probably could have done the same thing for track, but she's going to be doing volleyball at Siena Heights.
Yeah, there are a lot of three-sport athletes that have to finally make a decision.
Yep.
And because college, they don't want you playing. It's a rare 0.5% of kids that get to play like football and baseball.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know?
very, very rare. You don't see it too often.
Woodhaven's Emily Whitsey signed on to play softball at Henry Ford College.
And joining her there is another one of her teammates, Tatiana Tolliver from Woodhaven, also signing on to play softball at Henry Ford College.
Henry Ford's robbing the Woodhaven's a solid team.
Yeah.
They're always a solid team, and let alone Henry Ford says, hey, they win all the time. Let's get
Right.
them. That's good, though. It's good they stay local. They probably won't stay on campus, and it'd be great for them. New Boston Hurons, Cody Brenner, signed on to wrestle at Central Michigan. You've got to be tough to get into, like you say, a Division I school.
Yeah, and we've had some kids in the past go. We had one kid years ago when I first started, Christian Cullinan, who wrestled for Central. He was a state champion. I mean, wrestling's a tough sport. I mean, you're going somewhere in Division I to wrestle, or really anywhere to wrestle. That's a tough one to get into because it's a completely different. Talk about something completely different. Scoring, strategy. It's not the same in high school.
Really?
So yeah, they get points just for riding time and stuff like that. Points that they never get in high school, they get in college. So it's completely different. But that's one of the things where it's not the same. Football is football. Baseball is baseball. Wrestling is a little bit different when you get to college. So good for him. And lastly, Woodhaven's Abigail Crispell signs on to play soccer at Central Methodist University, which I'm not sure where Central Methodist University is at, but Abby Crispell is going there. So Woodhaven's sending some kids out, which is great. I mean, it's nice to see Downriver, represented pretty well here by some of these kids going to play at some different spots here for that. So I'm sure we'll have some more here as kids make decisions, over the summer as well.
Lost my mic there for a second. Can you hear any rattling in there? Yeah, I'll bet you could. I rolled down my shirt. Let's talk about the chaos or controversy in Trenton. Remember weeks ago we talked about the football program hiring a Little League football coach over the experienced high school assistants. Now, they had a redo, and they had... all I could say is the new selection process for Trenton varsity football lands an Indiana Hall of Fame coach. Now, that alone is wild. None of it is what it is. For everything that went wrong in the first attempt to select a coach in Trenton, school superintendent Douglas Menser said district officials have now gotten it right. For the one guy, they got it right. The guy that got the job. Touchy subject here.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation. I feel bad for everybody that was involved, especially the people that interviewed that first time. For all, you look at some of the finalists for that, from what I've heard, all great individuals, and they talked about the process and how that went. And, so if this is how, like Superintendent Menser feels is the best situation, going forward, it was kind of surprising to see, the fact that, Reggie Glahn spent his whole career in Indiana, coached there the entire time. He hasn't coached, I believe, for I think 3 or 4 years. I think he's been athletic director down there for a little while.
Interesting. Interesting.
Coming back into it, I think 2017 or 18 was the last year he coached football, I believe. But and obviously he's going to have to be teaching too, I believe. I don't think he's coming in just to coach. So, kind of see how that goes.
Yeah, he's coming in from Indiana, where he was inducted into the Indiana Football Hall of Fame in 2018. He's coming here to accept a job at Trenton. He graduated from Indiana University in 1992 after serving as a combat engineer in the U.S. Marine Corps for 8 years. Now, he holds a master's degree in sports science. And he found out about this gig through newspaper accounts and social media. and he applied.
Yeah, and I think he knows. I mean, when I read the article, it sounds like he has family in the area. Like, this area is not completely new to him. It didn't really go into in-depth detail as far as, what his ties are. Does he have, a relative, kind of what, so now if he's coming here and has never been downriver, and we've seen that happen. I mean, to be honest with you, it's been happening more often. I think of some of the coaches that have been coming in the last few years. I think of like Giarmo in Gibraltar was down, I think, at Monroe, CC, and you sometimes see where it's been like coaches have downriver roots and have ended up, at different spots. Like I look at Ron Adams, like, Ron started, he coached, I believe, at Melvindale, and then he went to Truman, and then ended up at Wyandotte. Granted, he was teaching in Wyandotte, but, you kind of see where coaches have ended up in different spots. So it's been interesting to see some of these coaches in recent years coming in, like the coach at Gibraltar just recently hired. He was from Indiana, I believe, and coaching down there. Now, he's a young guy, but, you're seeing guys that are coming in that have no history of this area, at least from what I'm understanding, that are coming in to coach.
And that's what everybody lost their mind about in the first time, was because the guy that they picked was just a Little League coach. Either ran the program or coached it. And, people lost their mind. Hey, you're stepping over these guys. Now, none of the finalists, all the ones that were tied to this area, reapplied for the job. When they went to say, we're going to do a do-over, let's do a do-over. Right. And the three guys that got basically shunted, they didn't reapply.
Right.
Now, shame on them. If they wanted the gig, they should have reapplied.
And I think it's part of the situation, too, is seeing the situation. And it might be more of like, how they feel towards, the administration, probably how this was handled. Like I said, from what, I don't really know any of the three that were the finalists. From what I hear, all great individuals, and and so it was a really, I'm sure, frustrating thing for a lot of the people in the city. Let's hope that whatever happens going forward, because they have beautiful facilities. I was just there a couple weeks ago, and the facilities are absolutely gorgeous. They have a long history, as far as, in football goes, and a long history of coaches as well. So it's...
Here's a what if. What if it was the hockey team? Those guys, to get in next in line in the hockey team, you have to be involved about 20 years. Yeah. The one guy steps down and his 20-year assistant moves right into the gig. Now, I kind of got handed the bowling coaching job here, but I've looked through the papers before and seen schools looking for openings and thought, I could do that. Yeah. Younger Marty, I used to look at that all the time. Yeah. Think about a side gig, just getting a job coaching, but have you coached just about everything. You ever had to go through
in some aspects, yeah. I mean, and the highest I've ever had is coaching varsity bowling at the high school level. A lot of my stuff has been middle school, but I was the varsity girls track coach for a few years. But that was a little bit different because I worked together with the boys coach, so it wasn't like I was by myself for the entire time. So you kind of felt like it was more of a partnership. And it's all how schools handle things too now. And you're kind of seeing it like, some schools, like you said, in hockey, and some aspects have to be something like, which is really interesting. It's funny you mentioned hockey because I don't know if you heard, Coach Quint is retiring, so he is actually stepping down. He announced it last week on social media. So that's something we can mention too, talking about coaching vacancies. Yeah. There's been no talk yet as far as who's going to take over for him, and you kind of wonder, is it going to be somebody that's been in the hockey program? Coach Quint is obviously state title, coached numerous years. We all, when he posts on social media, a lot of us wished him well. But so that's going to be an interesting thing. And who knows, the next couple of weeks, we'll see, because that's another sport that does a lot of off-season stuff. Oh, yeah. You want to put a coach in there right away. But with Coach Quint retiring from the hockey program in Wyandotte, there's going to be a vacancy there as well. It will be huge.
Maybe I should get Mike Mahalik, and Norm Wheeler together, and the three of us take it over. But then it's during bowling season.
Yeah, you'd be double dipping. It'd be pretty tough. That time.
No, we coached the JV when our kids were that age, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and what they it wasn't associated with the school, but we were in a JV league, just like the school is in the varsity league, And we played, and we were Final Four. It gets down to the playoffs, so we were Final Four. That would be fun to coach a high school team and get to pick your talent instead of just getting everybody that shows. That's what I always say. A real coach could coach the kids and make them better. travel teams and all that,
Yeah.
those elite teams that you have to try out for that spot, they're easy to coach.
Yeah, and it's different now, and I'm sure you could probably relate to this too. When I got hired in as a teacher 20 years ago, they were like, okay, you're coaching. I got told I was coaching softball, and I had baseball background experience, so I'd have to go. I'm like, I don't know how to pitch softball, so I'd go in the gym every morning and throw against a wall to kind of teach myself how to do that stuff. Nowadays, you're not seeing that. It's not where schools are struggling for coaches in spots that you never thought schools would struggle for, and you're seeing postings happen all the time for it. And we've talked about this too. There's a lot of more variables than what there were 20 years ago.
More choices.
More choices. You're dealing with parents on a different level. You're dealing with kids on a different level too. That think that, okay, no matter what I'm being told, I feel like this is where I should be, unfortunately, and.
You're only one bad coach from making it to the pros.
Right, and it's tough. And
I'm telling you, that's how it is. One coach didn't play you the way you were supposed to be played. And, that hockey coach didn't play me, and I was a center, and he had me on the defense, and now I'm not in the NHL. No, son, that's not why.
Yeah, and they've tried different things, too. And, you're hearing this, too, talking to some coaches about, like, the NCAA, like the transfer protocols now, where kids just go in there, and there's so much... Oh, you should come here, and you should come here. Oh, your coach is leaving. You should just, and NCAA doesn't even want to touch the problems that they have with the transfer portal, and how these kids get in and out and go to different spots. And that's a whole. Unless that, NCAA and somebody wanted to change how eligibility works, but then they put this transfer portal in, and that's just kind of opened up this whole can of worms. Now it's almost like a lottery. You just want to pick these kids out to come and play at your school. If they jump into that. So.
That's an interesting thing. Well, I wish whoever takes over that program in Wyandotte, that's so intriguing. I know two guys that we could continue just what's going on. But Mihalik's running the Little League, and Wheeler, he wouldn't do it without us. I'd love to give that another whirl.
And I
talk about the time commitment, though. I think bowling's a time commitment.
Yeah.
Hockey would be ridiculous.
Hockey is like football. I mean, they'll start doing conditioning in the summer, and in the fall they're getting going. And it's interesting. This too, the rules about coaches can't be around, but you can take an assistant coach, and they can do all the conditioning stuff. And it's kind of interesting how that works out.
The way we did it when we were doing the JV team is like in the spring, once the season ended, which is February, March. And then he practiced throughout school at like 8 o'clock at night. Now the kids playing baseball couldn't make it. But again, not too many dual athletes. We would run those practices.
Yep.
He wouldn't even come in the building. Sometimes he'd be in the building, he'd stay in the lobby just looking through the glass. But, you could get away with it if you got to, the JV that's not associated with the school. Right. Running his practices.
And that might be a thing. Maybe this new coach that comes in, maybe we can bring him on the program and
that'd be great.
And ask some questions and stuff like. Because I imagine they're going to want to get that done pretty quickly. So we'll kind of wait and see. Once we find out what's going on. But yeah, I think as of last week it was posted. He announced it last week, and so that'll be one varsity spot for sure that will be new for the fall.
That's interesting.
For the winter.
And there's a lot of lower level coaches. I know in softball, I think the JV coach, the young lady that coaches them, she's so knowledgeable about the sport. I think she should have been moved up a long time ago, but that's my own personal opinion. What's the summer have in store? What are you doing this summer?
We're going to do some cross-country workouts. I'm down to two sports, which, I do cross-country and track. And, football starts off on that Monday. I mean, a lot of sports start summer conditioning. We're waiting to hear back from the state because supposedly the state is saying that kids are still going to have to get tested for COVID tested. They can, if they have their card, they don't have to get tested if they've been vaccinated. But if they're only going 4 days a week, and let's say, and we're still doing the testing now, so that's we're trying to get some clarification from the state as far as how summer pro workouts go, because kids are in and out. It's not required. So you have some kids here 2 days a week, some kids here 3 days, but you'll see volleyball will start up with stuff, football starting up with stuff, cross country will start up with stuff in the summer. There's no downtime. Like I talk to our athletic trainer Darren all the time. It's like there's always something going on. There's always something.
Yeah, Ken mentioned last week. Don't forget, get a hold of us, localsportswrapup@gmail.com. We have a few more minutes to kill here. Find us on YouTube also. Ken mentioned last week, that his daughter was like, she's getting tired. She's getting tired playing ball for college, and it's an everyday practice thing, and it's, studies are still there. And I can't imagine on the college level how intense all of it is with the weight training and the grounder fielding and all that stuff that, it just, you'll wear a kid out.
Yeah.
But they hit that level, that's college level. I'm glad my daughter just stuck with bowling because she could have did volleyball, she could have did softball, and she just stuck with bowling, and it's just a club team at U of M, so she could go. They practice 2 days a week.
And plus it's great, and for the kids first, you're a student first, athlete second. So grades, obviously, for these kids, they're putting that as their priority, but then having to focus on the sports and and I've seen it with high school kids too, trust me. A lot of these kids are burned out. It's been a pretty crazy last year and a half, and we're feeling it. The kids are starting to feel it. I think you're going to have some kids that are going to kind of take a little bit of time to kind of regroup over the summer. I know I am. They were like, "Oh, you want to do summer school?" I'm like, "No, I just kind of I'll do my stuff and help out where I can." But
well, you got 3 kids at home
right,
too, and they're
yeah.
babies.
Yeah,
man.
you want to have a little bit of time, but the way it looks, I mean, the fall's going to be about as close to being back. I mean, the way things have been to how things are, there's not going to be any excuses in the fall. So
I know I have to bowl in Vegas on the 13th of July, so I just bought a new bowling ball. We're going to start throwing it, get myself in bowling shape. Julia too. She's taking a big calculus test right now, 2 hours of testing.
That's fine.
I don't begrudge that on anyone, but she's driven, so I'm pretty lucky to have 2 kids that are driven. So she got she's like, she put out the warning today, I got a 2-hour test. I said, well, I'm filming and Kimmy's cooking, so it'll be okay. We'll be out of the way.
Yeah, as long as you get to enjoy. So any major trips or anything, or just kind of other than going out to Vegas?
I spent last weekend in Chicago before the holiday weekend there. That was fun. We're just going to Vegas. Kimmy wants to go to Hawaii again, but we'll see how that goes, dear.
Yeah.
We'll see how Vegas goes first. But everything is opening up. I went to Kroger today before work, and half the people weren't wearing masks, and they were making an announcement. If you were vaccinated, you don't have to wear your mask in the store. I still wore mine. But
yeah, I'm too, just for outdoors, no. Like I've gone to my girls' Cabrini soccer games, and I won't outdoors. Indoors, I'm like, I'm still going to wear it. I'm used to it.
Yeah.
I wear it at school. I'm going to wear it when I go out to indoors.
We should wear it like in December and January, and that
Correct.
stopped the flu spread.
I know.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Nobody breathing on each other. All right, so anyway, as we wrap up, I'm Marty Chinesky. Ken will probably be back next week when we film on a Wednesday. And George Purdue's over there. Don't forget, look us up on email, localsportswrapup@gmail.com. And we'll see you next week. Hi, Mom. And Mom's doing better. That's
Awesome.
a good sign.
Good.
Good sign. Catch you next week.